ideally you can hear us all, we will kick off with Matt. Oh, I don't know. Do the journalists need a microphone to ask a question, or are they just good to go? Go for it. Shout if needed.
Warren, 13 changes to the starting side. Can you just explain why those will be made?
Just stay tuned around here.
Father Tower military sound really to start again. Just explain why those guys are the ones to back up.
I just think from past experience with Tupe, he's a player that gets better with more game time. So just he's had a lot of rugby, didn't play the warm-up game. So just backing him up, and with Lewis, same sort of situation. He's been fantastic the last 5 or 6 weeks. It was a transition. Just want to keep him playing as well.
And with the 6-day turnaround, as you mentioned, do you have to do anything to the training week? Did you change the schedule at all? Or?
Yeah, we did. Yesterday was a day off. Oh, today's a day off. Even though we're here. We did change the week around slightly in terms of changed Wednesday and Thursday over. But the boys have been great in terms of preparation.
Just changing that day off, what does that allow you to do? Because obviously with the test match coming up on Saturday, Thursday, usually a training day, you mentioned.
Yeah, probably just front load of the week a little bit more, and then today with a recovery day, and then tomorrow with the captain's run, it'll be a little bit different than normal, probably a little bit more of an extended captain's run, just doing a little bit more in terms of training, just making sure that we cover things off that we want to prepare for the week.
And as a message to these players that they can force their way into the team to face Australia with a big performance on Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the big part of that. Gives us the luxury of giving everyone an opportunity. I think there's been a bit of talk about Henry Thomas. He's got a tight hamstring, and so we decided not to risk him into this game. He was going to start. We did name him earlier in the week. It was Tom Francis on the bench, and it's been a straight swap for Dylan Lewis.
And Dewi, just to yourself, obviously a proud day on the horizon for yourself, and perhaps when you got that knee injury at Twickenham and maybe a few doubts, but you're here now and it's a proud day for you on Saturday.
Yeah, obviously it's never nice to be removed from the field early, especially a week before the team is selected for a World Cup. But I think, a lot of work has gone on behind the scenes from medical staff and from physios, putting a lot of time into me to get me ready to play. A lot of thanks to them, and just looking forward to getting into another weekend.
Greg?
Warren, how do you go about eradicating dumb decisions, as you said?
Yeah, just from experience, really. It's a learning process. Probably the guy that was hurting the most after the weekend was Corey Domachowski, in terms of the yellow card and that, which would have been pretty costly. They had 8 minutes to go on the yellow card, and we had 15 versus 14 for that period. At 32-14, I thought we were outstanding in that first 60 minutes. Game plan had worked really well, effectively, and then we come under pressure in that last sort of 15 minutes, 13 minutes, in the last 10 minutes. So just making sure that we learn from that, but we've got to be honest in terms of the way that we address the situation, and some penalties that we had given away in our 22 in terms of some offside penalties and stuff. And just making sure that we move forward and learn from that.
Looking ahead to Australia beyond Portugal, how many of the positions or places do you feel are locked in, and how many opportunities are there available?
I'm a here and now person. I don't really look forward to it. I'm not even thinking about Australia, not even thinking about the team or the positions. There's a great opportunity for players on Saturday to stake a claim, and if they go out there and someone has great performances, then they're definitely in contention. That's the way that I look at it, and I think the way you've got to look at it, and the players need to feel that if they go out and give a good performance, then they're in contention against for Australia. That's the only way you can do that.
how excited are you and how excited is Gareth Hanscom about his opportunity this weekend?
Looking forward to Saturday, and Gareth, he gets an opportunity. We know in the past, when he started for Wales, the success record that he's had as the number 10 has been excellent. He hasn't had a lot of rugby, picked up a thumb injury when we were in Turkey in terms of breaking his thumb. He's recovered from that and back in training. He's looking sharp, and so looking forward to that, to seeing him out there on Saturday.
Debbie, what was it like being on the sidelines watching that game on Sunday, and how much were you chomping at the bit to get on, or just have to prove yourself at the same time?
I mean, I think it was nerve-wracking for everyone watching on the weekend, that last 10 minutes. But you definitely, sit and watching the boys run out the first game definitely makes you want to go out there yourself even more. But we understand it's a long tournament, and we're a squad of 33. So it's not just the 23 that take the field one weekend. It's our job to prep the boys for that game if you're not involved. But yeah, watching was tough, but the boys got the job done, and that's what matters, and we move forward on to the next one.
Thank you.
Okay, Alex?
Hi Warren, just to expand on Gareth, can you just talk a little bit about the dedication that he's shown to get back to playing at this level? It's been pretty impressive up there.
Yeah, look, I think 2019 was disappointing, and he's had a few injuries and things over the last number of years, but he's back fit, he's excited. In fairness to him, he did a brilliant job last week for us. As Dewi mentioned, in terms of the boys that were involved, in terms of prepping the team for us, in terms of the Fijian players. And Dan Berger's done a really good job this week as well. So that's it's an important role. It's just not about the 15 or the 23. It's a full squad of 33, and they all play a really, really important part. And if you're not involved, there's a role to play in terms of what you need to do during the week to help everyone prepare.
And what's the Fiji win done for the confidence and momentum in this team, especially for maybe some of the younger players who now know that they can do it on the big stage?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. Look, we were delighted with the win, delighted with the preparation, the way we prepared, and like I said, everything was going brilliantly for 60 odd minutes with the scoreline. And typical Fijians, they get a bit of a sniff, and they came back at us really strong in the last period. So a lot of positives, and for us, some things for us to work on as well, which is, it's not a bad thing too.
Was it a harsh review, a difficult review for himself?
I think just the review stuff was some things that we can get better at in terms of that. We sent a lot of clips in as well I know there's a lot of stuff being said about us in terms of how unlucky Fiji were, but we've seen a number of clips ourselves to say that things were missed in the game too. So, and just to get clarity on that, and the referees came back to us yesterday on those, and we're in agreement with a lot of things that we'd sent in too. So, that game's, we've done and dealt with that. It's past us now, and the focus is, been purely on Portugal, and then hopefully can do a good job on Saturday, and then move on to Australia next week.
Nick?
Warren, morning. Could you talk about Chris and David starting together in the second row, what you see from them as a combination, and Chris going forward long term?
It's pretty exciting for them as young as the second row player. Brad, boys from Exeter. They're still only 20, so he's got a big future in front of him with Chris as well. Long term, we see Chris as a loose forward. That's it in the sixth position. He's an outstanding line-up forward, really quick off the ground, great athlete in terms of that. He's still inexperienced, and he'll continue to grow and develop and get better. But we're really excited about those two for a long-term sort of future with Wales.
And could you talk a little bit about Portugal, what you've seen, what you make of them, where the obvious threats might come from?
They're kind of a similar version of Fiji. They play a lot of rugby. They've got some exciting players. They like to move the ball around. So we're kind of prepared almost in the same way as we're prepared against Fiji. There won't be a lot of changes, a few little tweaks to the game and the way that we want to operate and things. So so hopefully, I thought from a neutral last week, if you're watching the game, it's probably the most exciting game of the weekend in terms of the rugby that was played. It wasn't great being a coach sitting in the box for the last 10 minutes, I can promise you that. But hopefully we can produce another great game of rugby, and there was some pretty big games for the first round of the World Cup, and let's hope that can continue this week.
Dewi, can I ask you what this all feels like to be sitting up there about to captain your country into a world in a World Cup match? There's a lot to take in, isn't there? All the noise around the World Cup. What you're sensing at the moment, what you're seeing, what you're hearing.
Yes, obviously quite tough to take in, and I don't think really it'll sink in until probably post World Cup, just because there's so much focus on preparing for the week and getting ready for games. And then playing those games, and all of a sudden, you've got 5 days until the next game. So I don't think really, while we're here, there's enough time for things to really sink in. But no, it's incredible to be here, just representing the country, but to be sat up here, leading the boys out on the weekend with the experience we've got in this squad. It's an honour, and I think we're all very excited to be able to take the field on the world stage this weekend, and hoping to showcase what we can do.
And did we have one question?
Yes. Hello Warren, I work for a local newspaper, Nice Matin, Var Matin. Dan Pigard won't play tomorrow, but I have a question. What are your expectations from him during this World Cup? His last World Cup. So, what are your expectations? And maybe your expectations are higher now for this World Cup for him. Thank you.
Dan's a very experienced player in terms of he's been around for a long time. So the expectation for him is to continue doing what he's doing in terms of he's very, very competitive. He can be quite emotional at times, and we see that on the field, and which just the way that he plays the game, because he is so competitive. So I don't expect anything different from Dan and what he's always produced when he's put the Welsh jersey on. He's desperate to do well personally, but he's also very, very passionate about Wales and Wales winning. And for us, it's about one game at a time in terms of this tournament. We've always been confident in the past about World Cups and the opportunity to get the team together for an extended period. We think that we have done well in previous World Cups. We'd like to get to a final of the World Cup, and I stated beforehand that don't write us off. This team's capable of doing something pretty special, and I still believe it. Part of one of the key themes or the key messaging before this World Cup, and in fairness to Dewi, he mentioned during the week that make sure we're a bloody hard team to beat, and if you're a hard team to beat, then things can happen for you, and you get a group of players working for each other, putting that jersey on, that they're passionate about playing with their country, passionate about playing for Wales. They recognise the history, what it means to the fans and the public and their families to represent the country, and if you get those things right, then things can happen for you, and that for us that means a heck of a lot. And I can promise you that when the guys go out in the weekend or any game, they're going to give everything to play for their country.
For you, it deserves to be a world champion. Dan, it deserves to.
Oh, it's a tough challenge to do that. We just, like I said, we just take one game at a time, and that's it. You know, the first priority for us is to be a really tough team to beat. And if we do that and we get things right and the preparation's good, we don't pick up too many injuries, then there's no reason why we can't continue to progress a long way in this tournament, and that's a plan for us.
Okay, we're tight on time, so we'll do Alex, Nick, and then a few in Welsh with Larry.
Sorry, just quickly on the decisions that you've had back on. Can you give any examples?
No.
Yeah. Okay, Nick.
Warren, you came under enormous pressure in the final 10 minutes against Fiji. I think we've seen the open weekend that some teams handle the pressure much better than others. Do you think it will hold you in good stead going forward, especially once you get to the knockout rounds, having that 10 minutes where you really had to fight against it?
Absolutely. And I think that's, as a rugby player, it's a learning experience. You know, what are the things and the strategies we can put in place, and that what's the communication about doing that, and that. You know, you try and address those things at times, but one of the things as a coach is you can't coach experience. You know, you've got to sometimes go through that and learn that as players. And it took us a number of years in my previous reign with Wales, and we would be in positions where in tight games and we conceded and lost games in the last few minutes. You know, probably to 2018 and 2019, you know, game management in those couple of years was outstanding. Even when we were behind, we never panicked. We believed we were going to win. So that process can take a little bit of time, and so, you know, like I said, it wasn't the worst thing for us to experience last Sunday in terms of positives that were in the game, in terms of the way we prepared, the game plan that we implemented, and then get to come under a bit of pressure and then to be able to talk about and address that, and you know, sort of plan some of those things during the week in terms of the preparation for Saturday.
Okay, we've only got time for 3, sorry, Larry.
Dewi, sut chi'n baratoi wynebu tîm fel Portugal, tîm chi ddim yn gyfarwydd chwarae fel nifer o'r tîm eraill yn y cystadleuaeth?
Credu mae dim llawer yn newydd o gyfer ni. Ni'n mynd mewn i'r gêm yma fel byddwn ni'n mynd mewn i unrhyw gêm arall. Mae rhaid i ni roi parch i Portugal yr wythnos yma. Dyn nhw ddim yn tîm sy'n yma i just creu niferoedd, so bydd e'n gêm anodd, a maen nhw'n mynd i dod mewn i'r gêm yma yn eisiau chwarae rygbi. Maen nhw'n gael wythnos bant yn gwylio lot o rygbi dros y penwythnos, so bydd nhw'n barod i fynd o'r wythnos yma.
Ac i ti'n bersonol, ti ar fin arwain dy wlad mewn cwpan y byd, beth yw'r teimladau? Ti'n edrych ymlaen at yr achlysur?
Edrych ymlaen. Mae'n anodd i roi mewn i geiriau. Y teimlad, falle just diolchgar am yr opportunity a edrych ymlaen at chwarae dros Gymru ac roi gêm mlaen ar y penwythnos. Mae pawb yn gallu bod yn prawd o nôl adre.
A faint o hwp mae'r fuddugoliaeth yn erbyn Fiji wedi rhoi i'r garfan at symud mlaen?
Credu mae wedi rhoi llawer o momentum i ni yn mynd ymlaen. Ond hefyd ni'n ymwybodol bod ni ddim yn gallu just cario ymlaen yn edrych nôl ar y gêm yna. Roedd e'n gêm gwych, a ni'n hapus ni wedi dod mas ar gyda'r ennill y gêm, ond ni ddim yn gallu cario ymlaen i edrych nôl yna. Ni angen mynd ymlaen nawr yn y tournament a edrych ymlaen. Diolch.
Thank you very much, everyone.